Hey man, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Adam.
So that looks like an amazing spot. Tell me a little bit more about that. So you're down in Perez Zeledon down there?
Yeah, I'm about 30 minutes south of the city in a little barrio that has a lot of farmland.
Nice. How did you end up
Yeah.
there? I mean, for Costa Rica, like when people are making that like their destination of choice in Costa Rica, how did that spot end up on your radar?
Yeah, I was really set on the beach cities, actually. I was looking in like Uvita, Dominical. I
Sure.
didn't go up to Tamarindo and Nosara when I was searching. Maybe I should have, but um, I was just looking for beach property. And then I came across this guy named Brendan McKeon. You know him?
No, I don't know. Mm-mm.
He's like a pretty well-known permaculturist in Costa Rica. He's been here for about 15 years. And he was helping me find land, and I was looking for something close to the beach that could grow fruit trees. And we scouted a bunch of land near Dominical and Uvita.
Sure.
And everything we found it checked most of the boxes, but the soil fertility was pretty low.
Yep.
And so he said, why don't you come check out my neighborhood where I live? I build a lot near the beach, but I live in the foothill mountains where the soil's a little more fertile and it's not as hot. It's not as humid. There's not as many insects. So come check it out. See what you think. I know you're set on the beach, but come scope it out. So I stayed with him for a week. And then I was like, wow, the climate's unbelievable here. It's like springtime year round. We're at 2,500 feet above sea level, so there's less insects. The soil's really fertile. So that's how I ended up here. It was kind of like through the help of Brendan, really.
That's interesting. Because I mean, I love the beach too. And, we lived in Manuel Antonio for like 8 years. But I tell you, I don't miss that heat at all. Like anytime we go back there now, it's like, oh my God, I immediately just like, you just get out of the car and you start sweating. It's that kind of heat.
You were in Manuel Antonio for 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereabouts?
We had one of the first spas. We moved there in like 2000. We opened one of the first spas, basically right below. If you're at Mariposa Hotel, looking towards the park, our house and spa was literally right below Mariposa, right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, I love Manuel Antonio, but there's something about for livability. The weather up here, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I love visiting Manuel Antonio, and it's like super special to visit. Like the last time we took a trip there, it was spectacular in every way. And it makes you want to move there, but then you forget that it's that intense every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. What year did you move down? What year did you move down, or did you get your property?
I bought the land in 2014, 15, and we moved down full time December 31st, 2017.
Wow. And
so
and you built all the stuff on your, like that house you're sitting in right now. You built that yourself?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Not with these computer hands, but these computer hands did
my money built this house.
Figured out the dimensions, maybe.
That's awesome. Yeah. How long did it take? How long was the construction process for you?
Every time we build a building, if it's a real building, like the house was 9 months. This office was like 6 months. A casita we did up the way, we built a little spare house that was like 5 months.
Wow. Yeah. So, but wasn't too bad then. You've actually, sounds like you aren't even beat up about it. Most people get beat up and like, oh, I'll never build anything again.
I mean, because I was here during the construction. So, well, I wasn't here for the main house, so that was fine. And I was here for the other ones. So, and I was, basically paying weekly. So when you're paying weekly, you can kind of crack the whip.
I found we did a remodel once, and I found I was not very good at that, and that thing just dragged and dragged and dragged. I was not.
I can tell you the construction is draining. Like I don't enjoy when we have to do a new construction project anymore. I'm like, oh, I got to go manage that project. Like, not that fun.
So how did you, I mean, you grew up in California, right?
Yeah.
How did you always know about Costa Rica? Like before I moved to Costa Rica, I had no idea about Costa Rica. How did you learn about it? How did it pop up on your radar?
I think I just heard the word Costa Rica and good things about the country growing up, and there was like an allure towards it.
Okay.
And then when I was in my mid-20s, I was working for a tech company in sales, and I was doing well there, and I wanted to take bigger vacations like Hawaii, like Kauai, North Nepali coast, hike, like Costa Rica, like big ski trips, and totally disconnect because I was working my tail off. And so I disconnect for like a week or 10 days, you know, at the end of the year. And in 2012, I came to Costa Rica for the first time and just fell in love with it.
It's like the typical thing, right? I mean, that happens. I can't tell you how many people I know who that is literally the story.
Yeah.
And
How
actually,
did it happen for you?
For us, it was a little bit different. After college, I moved to the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands.
Nice.
And I grew up in the East Coast and didn't know anything about Central or South America at all, really. And knew about the Caribbean, of course, but like Puerto Rico and Jamaica, right? That's like my version of the Caribbean. And living with some guys and a friend of mine, I was like, man, I really want to move. I was like Hawaii. I really want to move to Hawaii because Hawaii always had like that allure to it. Right. And a friend of mine was like, oh man, you should go to the U.S. Virgin Islands. I'd literally never even heard of the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Right.
So that's how and
I never had either until I started getting into sailing. Like U.S. Virgin Islands is off the map.
Yeah, it's off the map. And the only reason I ended up there was literally the plane flight was cheaper. That's literally the only reason. It was $250 one-way flight, and you know, Hawaii was like $600. And so
right,
you know, when you don't have any money, the choices are easy.
Yeah, right.
You know?
So what year was that?
That was like 93. Yeah.
And how long were you in U.S. Virgin Islands?
I was there up until I moved off briefly in like 95. We got hit with a hurricane really bad. And I was into like yoga and meditation at the time. And I knew people who had a spa, and I knew that the massage therapists were making like $60 an hour. And my brain was like, man, if I go to massage school, I can work like 2 hours a day. And then have the rest of the time to go swimming and diving and stuff.
Right.
You know, and so there's my pig down there. And
that's a good thought process.
You know, and so this is in youth, I'm like, I want to work zero. How can I get to zero? Right. I want to be retired now. And and so I moved after that hurricane. I was either going to be a firefighter, because I also heard firefighters could work like, you know, 3 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 2 weeks, whatever the crazy awesome schedule was. And so I literally went and took like the pre-test in Florida as like to be like a firefighter. But my girlfriend, who I was, you know, living with in the Virgin Islands, was like, I'm not living in Florida. Screw that. I'm going up to Virginia where my sister is. It's way better in Virginia. And my brother, like a family member, had gone to massage school in Baltimore. And I talked to him about massage and how great it was for massage therapists in the Virgin Islands to make money. And he was like, what about massage school? And there was the Baltimore School of Massage. And I was like, I liked having a girlfriend, you know, and it was like a girlfriend and massage school. And so that was it. And I went to massage school for 2 years.
Wow.
In Baltimore. I lived in DC, and I would commute like 3 times a week, like an hour to Baltimore back and forth. Yeah. Just did like, you're young, you can do anything, right? That would literally kill me. But back then you get it done. Actually, and massage school was amazing. I mean, you know. And
you did massage work in the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Yeah. So literally I graduated, at that time, I don't know what it is now, but at that time you took like a national exam. I took the national exam, passed it. And the next week I was on a flight back to the Virgin Islands. And
sweet.
But that's where I met Molly. Long roundabout story. That's where I met Molly, my wife, and we just were like, she wanted to go somewhere different, wanted to do something different. And then Costa Rica popped up on the radar. So that's how we started spa and Manuel Antonio. Long story.
That was in 2000.
Yeah, 2000, man. Long time.
So you've been here 20 years.
Man. It's crazy.
Wow. Time flying.
And done it all down here as far as business, and just been through the ringer in Costa Rica. And that's part of the reason I started the podcast, was just talk to people about my experiences and like try and help them to avoid some of the pitfalls.
Seems like you started a lot of little ventures.
A lot. Yeah. So now we have the soap company, and so that's our full-time gig now. But so can you hold on a sec, man? My pig. I should Maul, could you come get the pig? Molly, can you come get the pig? We got a pig. Do you guys have a pig on the farm? You got to have a pig, man.
We don't, but that's probably a good idea. We got a lot of food scraps.
Oh, man. My pig will literally, it's amazing. I've said it before. The one thing, like everything, like they're not a dog. They're so not a dog. Everybody told us they're not a dog, right? And it's true. They're not a dog at all. You figure, they're just cute dogs or whatever. No. Like their mind, like some people believe we're kind of just computers programmed, right? And all animals are. They are programmed for exactly one thing, and that's food. Everything, there is nothing else. There's literally nothing else in their life. There's no affection. There's no nothing. It's just here. If she hears a piece of plastic just go crinkle, crinkle, it's, here we go.
Oh my God.
It's amazing. So
that's awesome. It's like how I was when I was a kid. All I cared about was food.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, because it's one of the. Do you have kids, or you don't have kids yet? Right, you two.
Yeah, two.
You do?
6 and 9-year-old.
All right. Well, then you answer me this. I ask this question often because I don't know how to do it. How do you encourage your kids to really? I mean, in young kids, it's no problem to get them to follow their passions, but I found I have a 13-year-old now, and he'll get onto something, but the moment it gets hard or challenging, or Poppy's interested, like, oh, this is cool, he's out. He backs away. Right. What do you think about that? Any ideas? Any advice?
Man, I don't know. I just remember when I was growing up, I was around a bunch of rich kids, and I wasn't rich. My family wasn't. And so they had all this cool shit, and I didn't. And so I was like, how do I get that? And so that gave me like a drive and a hunger.
I know. Man.
But now with the kids here who live on a 6-acre farm with a BMX track and bananas all day, it's like, they're really helpful. They're good kids. But it's like, how do they have this sense of drive? I just don't know how. They just don't have a difficult life. I didn't have a difficult life either, but I kind of like wanted better.
Exactly. Yep.
So I think it has a lot to do with that. Like, if they're in a good environment, why would they be motivated?
Oh man, you hit the nail on the head. Honestly, that is my current belief, and I'm asking around to see if anybody has, kind of a great hint to give me, because I feel the exact same way. I mean, I grew up, was not poor by any means, actually, like upper middle class, like awesome. Right. But it was like, oh, you want internet, or not internet, you want cable TV? You're going to have to pay for it. You want a Nintendo? Go get it, man. Go get it.
Same.
And I started like pulling weeds at like 10 years old,
Yeah, same.
Just to make money. And it wasn't like my dad was like, hey, go pull weeds. It was like I was making up flyers and knocking on doors like, hey, do you want your weeds?
Yeah, like self-motivated. Exactly.
From a drive.
Yeah. And that was because you had an inner drive from like, you probably also had some rich families around, some more well-off families around you.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we just get more rich people, even richer? Do we need to be around billionaires, dude? Is that what we need to do?
No, I think I'm coming to a spot where I'm practicing non-attachment with the kids, and whatever they want to do in life is fine by me. And if that means going to school, that's great. If it means not going to school, that's great. If it means doing art all day, that's great. If it means playing on bicycles all day. I mean, I'm kind of just like, they'll figure it out.
It's interesting though, because part of it within that, right? That drive to do things, in my feeling is it gives something meaning, right? And if the kids don't have that, how are they supposed to derive any meaning from their existence?
Yeah.
I mean, right? I mean, do you have an answer for
Yeah.
that one?
Well, I mean, maybe life has no meaning for anybody.
Yeah, but when you're going into the coal mine, you don't have time to worry about it, right? I mean, and that's actually kind of gets to my current belief is that even 30 years ago, 20 years, 30 years ago, certainly when we were growing up, because you were working, you didn't have all this free time to think about your life and why it's not good and why I can do whatever I want. I can ride BMX, I can do tricks, but I'm still not like satisfied, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, you look at like the suicide rates of kids today, it's like off the charts. It's, it's like a hockey stick going straight up.
Yeah.
And I feel it's like this. It's like it's almost like the Matrix. We've dropped in the Matrix when it's too perfect, when life gets too easy. People just are like, oh, I'm out, man. I'm out. I don't,
I mean, if you think about it, insomnia is a sickness of the rich.
Yeah.
Like poor people don't have insomnia.
No problem.
If they work all day, they get home, they're tired as hell. They hit the pillow and they're out.
That's right.
Like we can, I mean, I work hard too, and I try to work hard physically and mentally so that I'm tired. But if you get into the middle class, middle upper class, and upper class, you can certainly have enough luxury and free time on your hands that you're thinking all the time.
Yeah. It's right. It's absolutely true. I've told this story before. Like we were fortunate enough to sell one of our businesses, I don't know, 2006 or something. And we were off for 3 years. I was retired for 3 years. And
right.
People were like, oh man, that must have been amazing. And it was amazing, right? I surfed twice a day, hung out on my hammock. I'm not going to trade it. I would love to have it again. Right.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, it was terrible, right?
Right.
Because you're faced with yourself completely.
Yeah.
There are no more excuses for like, why aren't I happy now? Well, you're not happy because you are what you are. And this is just kind of your state of being, and it's like, ooh, man.
It's I mean, a lot of philosophy is around reaching higher stages of enlightenment later on in life, because once you attain all the riches and material possessions in life that you think are going to make you not happy, but give you pleasure in some way, you realize that like no matter how big or small those things are, it's like basically meaningless.
Wah, 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 wah.
I mean, I love.
No, it's true. I'm not disagreeing. You're 100%. I'm 100% with you. It's completely true.
I like to think that Salty and Permaculture Planet, but mainly Salty, is helping a lot of people, giving health in a bottle with sustainable package. And your organic soap is helping a lot of people. But at the end of the day, we might just be making that up ourselves.
Yes, you're right, man. I don't, it's like, I don't know what you would say. Whatever floats your boat, man. Whatever gets you out of the bed and every day. And, it can be anything can give you meaning, right? And sometimes it can be simple. Sometimes it can be world changing. But, trying to, and maybe I should just stop worrying about it, right? I'm trying to like pass this on to my kid.
Yeah.
I don't think my dad ever worried about that, right?
Right.
I'm quite certain my father, who loved me dearly, never gave a thought about passing meaning to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was just concerned,
That's
can
true.
you get a good job? That's all he was worried about,
Right.
It's interesting. It's a blessing and a curse, but interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get into Salty, because this is cool, man. So you've been doing this for since 2014, right? And you started it in California, right? So was this like, okay, was it started like the way we started it, where you're just like literally mixing it up in your house and fine tuning it that way, trying to sell it locally? Like, walk me through the baby steps of creating.
Yeah, in 2013, I worked for a tech company, and I was traveling all over the U.S. and I was looking for healthy products, and because I had a personal obsession with organic and juice and smoothies at that point in my life, and so I was looking in airports, and there was only like Naked Juice and Odwalla basically at the time, and some other junk in a bottle. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. I wanted it in glass. I wanted organic. I want it like as fresh as possible. So that sort of gave me an idea that there's got to be a market for this. But I didn't know that Naked and Odwalla had already tried this, but eventually had to go to where they are today to scale it. And I was like, I could do it better just by like thinking about it more.
That's so interesting. That is interesting. So at that time, was it just like, it didn't even occur to you to fully like research that or to talk to them? Cause I mean, I've made those same sort of mistakes, right?
Yeah, no, I was just like, I can make it, put it in a truck, refrigerate it, and take it to the stores and be fresher than them.
That's awesome, man.
And then I was like, and they sell millions of bottles a year just in Southern California, so I got to be able to sell like some percentage of that.
Right. I don't need to sell 1 million. I'll just sell 100,000, make a nice living. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a break with my technology career, and I took a bunch of basically like I saved like 240 grand. Wow. And I saved about 300 grand, but I bought this farm in Costa Rica, and then I put the rest into Salty and went all in. And I said, if I fail this, I could go eat banana plants and live in a tent on the farm in Costa Rica.
Nice.
And that was like my legit backup plan. Cool. And so you'd think that $250,000 would get you a long way in something, but it doesn't get you very far.
No.
But at least it got me to a point where I could set up shop. I rented this little this little commissary kitchen by the hour. They made like hummus and hot sauce and all types of things in there, cold brew coffee. I rented it by the hour. I bought a juicer. I went to wholesale produce companies. I got the organic produce. I started juicing it. I bought a pallet of bottles. I put them in my garage. I bought some labels. I made the labels myself. I put them in the garage. I had all my inventory in the garage. I ran my car between the garage and the commissary kitchen. I made juice at night. I bottled it. And then the next morning I'd deliver it in ice chest. And then that same afternoon, I'd go knock on doors of other restaurants or cafes or gyms or whatever, and ask if they wanted to sell it. They all said no. I said, fine, I'll give it to you, and if you sell it, you pay for it.
Sell one, you can pay me.
I said,
dude, that's literally the way like every good company starts, man. It's just the way. Yeah. There's no other way.
I was so confident. I had one account, and it was selling. On day one, I sold 110 bottles, and I was selling at $10. I was selling them at $10 each.
Holy cow, man! That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, I had this. My friend owned this yoga studio, and it was Raw Yoga in Costa Mesa. Bobby Kittleman, and he said, "Yeah, you can set up like a booth here, a demo booth, and sell it on day one." And I'm like, "Sweet." And so I did, and I sold $1,100 worth of product, and I'm like,
"Oh man,
okay, there's something here." So I knew, and I got rave reviews. Like the juice was really good, fresh as it gets, organic, cold pressed, cold, like the temperature. So that makes a difference. It was refreshing. And so then these other places that I would knock on the door, they'd say no. And then I'd say, okay, how about I give you 24 bottles and you pay me if you sell. I'll come back in 2 days. Yep. And I did that over and over. I got into like 15, 20 stores.
At that time, what was the kind of shelf life of those things? Was it just a couple days?
5 days.
Yep.
I squeezed it out to 5 days. What I did is I added a little more lemon juice. I filled it all the way to the very brim.
Take out all the air.
Take out all the air. Yeah. And for some reason, I go into juice bars today and they're not doing that. And I'm just like, are you guys, do you guys realize you just fill it up a little bit more to last another day? But they're concerned that they're giving away this much liquid, you know?
Right. Yep.
But when you throw a whole bottle away, that really hurts.
Sure. Yep.
Or a case or a pallet or a truckload or whatever.
That sounds like that's experience right there, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did that over and over, and I had a little route, and it was like 25 accounts, I think.
No, wait. Give me an idea of this metric. Okay, so you're selling it for $10 at the retail level. How much are you giving? 5 to the store, and then you're keeping 5? What are you doing?
So since nobody would buy it from me, I said, fine, I'll place it here on your shelf. But if you sell it, you have to pay me $7.20.
Okay.
So they were working on like 25% margin, really low. Wow. Doing me a favor, but at the same time, there was no risk because if it didn't sell, they aren't paying a dime.
Right. Yep. Gotcha.
So, by the way, this is before, like, I don't know if you've been to California or New York lately, but like everybody's trying to start a beverage company.
Sure. Yeah.
This is
the
before
exit
that.
is fantastic if you can actually grow big enough, right?
And in 2014, this hype did not exist. So like there weren't 10 guys coming in trying to do what I was doing every week. It was just like I was kind of a new beverage, and I was next to legacy beverages, and they were saying okay.
Right.
And I mean, dude, I think month 1 we did 17 grand in sales.
Wow, dude, that's amazing.
I mean, it was basically just like a lemonade stand, like except for I delivering it. And I figured the more places I could get in, the bigger it would get.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Wow. We just got to get scale, and we're gonna be great.
Yeah. Then the shelf life was a big issue. I mean,
of course,
had to learn all
5 days, dude. That's brutal, man. I mean, that is just, it's so tough, man. That's so tough.
It was sad because when you make a perfect bottle, I don't have a big one, but when you make like a perfect bottle of juice in a glass bottle with like everything is top of the line.
Yep.
And you have to like take 50 of them off of a shelf and throw them away. You're just like, so I was like actually trying to chug them like the day before they expire.
You should have just said, call them up. Any left, just give them away today, right? It's promotion.
I would. That's what I used for samples. So I'd go give them out and demo it. But dude, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I got sick from drinking bad juice. So like, it was ridiculous. Not sick, just like it gives you a headache. It actually doesn't make you sick. At least coconut. If you do coconut wrong, it'll give you a headache big time. Like you want to just lay down basically.
Well, it's part of the reason, like preservatives and stuff, like the preservatives in juice and stuff. I think you can use like vitamin C's and stuff, right, to keep stuff longer, right?
Right.
So it's still natural, right? But you know, preservatives can be good, right? Preservatives can keep people healthy, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get sick. You're just not going to get like vitality out of the beverage.
Yeah, you're going in the wrong direction for sure. So how long was it before you were like, ooh, let's try and, you know, me running around is crazy. Let's try and get bigger and maybe get an investor or do something, go a little bit larger with this or get other team members on. How quickly into the prep process were you like, ooh, I got to scale this thing a little bit?
So I had the health department knock on our door like I gotta say month 3 or 4.
Okay.
And they said, hey, you guys aren't pasteurizing it and you're not HPPing it and you're not doing anything to the product. It's just raw juice. That's illegal. You can't sell it.
Big brother coming down on you, man. You don't like the man coming down telling you what you can do?
I said, I'm not selling it. I'm consigning it. These guys are paying for it.
Oh,
I said, these guys are just giving me some shelf space and they're consigning it. And if it goes through the register, then they pay for it. So I'm not selling it wholesale. And they're like, what the heck are you talking about, dude?
What kind of monkey math are you doing, man?
I said, well, the definition of consignment is you don't get the funding received until the transaction occurs at the retail level, and the definition of wholesale is you get the money as soon as it leaves your possession. And they're like, we have to go check the authorities with this one.
Jeez, you might be right.
so
What the hell? Are you serious? You said that?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. They gave me 30
literally
days.
Crazy talk, man.
They gave me a 30-day window to figure something out.
Wow.
And that's when I found UV light filtration. I had to go find a solution, and that's when I found that.
Wow. Super cool.
And
cool.
I didn't
So same
figure it out
deal
in
like
30
with my
days.
water filter here. You're passing the liquid through a UV light. It kills all the bacteria within the juice. And then so as long as the bottle and everything is sanitized, when you put it in the bottle, you're basically, there's no bacteria, no living bacteria in there. That's the idea behind it.
Yeah, UV is pretty minimally invasive, I would say, is the term. And it only works with pertinent pathogens. And those are E. coli, Listeria, Salmonella, some others. But it doesn't really kill anything. It makes those pathogens unable to replicate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
It's really weird. It delinks the DNA and the RNA of those things, and then they can't reproduce.
Oh, interesting.
It also kills the pathogens, but it also inhibits their reproduction.
Okay. So it cuts their dicks off is what you're saying.
Basically. So they're sterile. They're sterilized. For sure.
That's interesting. Okay. So what were you just like, oh shit, I got 30 days now. What am I going to do? I want to make fresh juice. I don't want to heat treat it, right? I don't want to pasteurize it. And so you just started researching at that time, or you had already popped up on your radar? Like, I'm going to have to do something to extend this shelf life. And so
for sure. The day I started, I knew the clock was ticking until I would get caught. And I was researching frantically in the background. So I had 3 or 4 month head start. In fact, I had already found the solution when they knocked on our door.
Yep.
And I'd already started working with Cornell University for doing the food science on it. And I was working with the engineering company to make the machine. And so I was pretty much 75% of the way there. And I didn't get 100% of the way there in that 30 days. I think we didn't produce for 1 week, literally, or
right.
Yeah. But basically I got it done within 40 days. I flew to New York, upstate New York. I rented a car, went to the engineering firm. I got the UV lamps. I hooked them up in I actually went to a farm and bought some UV lamps that were being used for apple cider.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep.
This guy was retiring. He was 84 years old, and his kids didn't want the business. It's kind of the story, right? The kids were well off, and they didn't want the business. And so,
just to interrupt you, what my kid says when Molly's like, well, Owen owns my kid's name. She's like, Owen, Raw Botanicals is yours. This is our legacy, and you're gonna get our legacy. And you know what he says? He says, as soon as you give it to me, I'm going to sell it.
It's the truth. At least he's truthful.
So you go up, some family is like, how'd you even find that? Was that just they're selling the packaging plant or whatever for the apple cider?
I found these forums to buy used equipment, and cider mill processors were on those forums. And so I started searching those forums.
Yep.
And they posted a cryptic message with one line with a phone number, UV system for sale, and their phone number. And so I called them and went and looked at it. It's crazy.
Crazy, man. The stuff works if you want to work it, right? If you really want to get this stuff done, you'll figure out a way. This is what humans do. It's amazing, right?
For sure. I'm still intense when I want to be or need to be, but back then it was I'm fucking getting it done. It's getting
That's
done.
right, man.
There's nothing will stop it from getting done.
Yep. Wow. So you go You go over there, you basically talk to the dudes at, was it Cornell or whatever?
Cornell.
To figure out the details. You bring the lights and all this sort of stuff back, and then you figure it out. At that point, is that when you rented like your first physical space to actually have like the space, just your own space and stuff?
Yeah, so then we figured out the configuration on the lights. We tested it once, and we got with a normal UV system, we got a 1 log reduction on green juice. With the new configuration that we got, that we did, we got a 4.5 log reduction, but you need a 5 log reduction.
What does that mean? What is that? What is log reduction? What does that mean?
It's like the number of tenths of decimal places that the bacteria gets killed.
I gotcha. Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
So like if there's a 1,000 bacteria and there's 3 zeros, a 3 log reduction, that'd be a 3 log reduction.
Gotcha.
If it went down to 1.
Gotcha.
So we got almost there, but that was, of course, that was enough evidence that if we add more UV, it will get to 5.
Right.
So then I had that stuff shipped back to California. I used to work in automotive. I worked for this Porsche race team. I had it shipped to them because they had the best fabricator I knew. And literally in this garage with a bunch of Porsches and Ferraris was a UV system from the East Coast, and I had their fabricator weld up.
So he's just doing like stainless steel welds and like welding the stuff together.
He's doing stainless welds, and then I had the electrical guy, which if you're really into like those kind of like crazy cars with the electrical, you know all about electrical systems. So I had him wire it up, and then I went and brought it to this facility that I finally rented by the month, and then fired it up. And then the California Department of Public Health came in. They did their test on it, gave us the green light. They said they've never seen anything like it, but good luck, kid, and patted me on the back, and off I went.
Hey, honestly, that is actually, compared to what's here in Costa Rica, that's actually reasonable. For a Ministry of Health, that they gave you any time and didn't just shut your doors on you, is actually very reasonable. Because here, forget it, you're just done. You can't do something like that.
Dude, I got so lucky. The woman that was the health inspector went to the high school that I went to 20 years prior to me.
That's funny.
And I went to this high school that like everybody like had pride about. It was a Catholic high school.
Yep.
And Mater Dei was the name. And she's like, I went to Mater Dei. And so in the background, I would send her like emails. She was super nice. She was like on my side. I would send her like emails like Mater Dei, blah, blah, blah. And so I think she like stuck up for me against like the health department. It was pretty sweet.
Dude, I don't know why. Like, I understand having a health department. Why can't it be they're on your side? I don't understand why it has to be a confrontational. And it's almost always confrontational. I'm like, why? You want to get the public? I don't want to get the public sick either. Let's work together and figure this thing out, right? I mean,
I know.
It needs to be any other way.
I know.
Wow. So you got that done, man. You got the juice, right? And now how long is the shelf life now that you got this system in place?
Now
still needs to be refrigerated and all that, right? I mean, it's still got to be refrigerated.
Oh yeah.
But how long is the shelf life now?
To this day, it still has to be refrigerated.
Sure.
The shelf life went from 5 days to 11 days without a problem.
Yep.
And then I tweaked the recipes a little bit, and I got 17 days without a problem.
Okay.
And 17 was huge because I could get 3 full weeks and a couple days for another delivery.
Yep. Yeah.
So then I basically built the company on like 17-day shelf life.
It's still so tight, man. When you're going to investors for that, man, that's gotta be tight, man. It's like,
it was tight for sure. Yeah. But it also gave us such strength because we went from 17 to 30, and we went from 30 to 45. Then we went from 45 to 100.
Really?
And so every time we got one of those, it was like, okay, this is a walk in the park now.
Oh, wow.
Like distribution just got easier. Sales got easier.
Yep.
Spoilage went down, waste went down. So I built the company on 17. When we got to 30, it was like a miracle.
Easy
When we
peasy,
got to
right?
when we get to 100, we had 0% spoils nation. We had 1.3% spoils nationwide in 2018.
Yeah.
And a competitor of ours probably has like 6.5% spoils.
Sure. Yep.
Because they built the company on like 90-day shelf life from the get-go. We're like, our processes in the beginning were like 17-day.
Right. So tight. Yeah. Yep.
It was interesting.
So it made you strong from the beginning because you had to deal with it. So you built a stronger company right at the start.
Yeah.
That's super interesting, man. When did you decide, oh, I need to get some funding or partners? I'm not going to go into the details of it, but how was that process for you? Share whatever you feel comfortable with, but how was that process getting other people on board to buy into what your vision was?
So the first money in actually came in late 2014. The guys that I was buying equipment from for the juicing, they heard that I figured out the UV light, and they'd been in the industry for like 20 years, and they didn't know anybody that had figured it out. And so one of the guys, Charlie, and his friend put in 110 grand.
Nice.
And that helped me for like, I thought it would be for a while, but it helped me for like 6 months or 5 months or something.
Hey, that's not that bad. But it's amazing how money you burn. Once you start trying to do something, it just burns, man.
And then I was constantly fundraising, Adam, literally, but it was always soft. I would never like try to sell an investment the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time I met someone.
Sure.
I would always just plant news. I would just give them news of what we're doing, keep them in my network, be super professional on email follow-up. And then I did this thing that really helped. I did a monthly update to stakeholders. And every month I did an overview of the business. I did operations, marketing, sales, and corporate or finance. And I did like just an e-blast with those 4 things, and then charts, and then photos, and then customers. And I sent it out to like 20 people, then 50, then 100, then 200. So I had this like prospect investor list just constantly going.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I had to do that because I got onesie, twosie checks, 25, 50 grand at a time. Probably raised like $2 million that way.
Wow. Good for you, man.
And then, you think that the fundraising is the celebration, but you have to turn profit. It's like this, the fundraising really triggers
it's more runway to keep working.
build a real company kind of. Yeah.
Well, just to get into the details of like why, juice or beverage companies are at least are hot now. They've been, I guess the early ones were, I don't even know, Smart Water or something like this. You see guys have really nice exits, right? Because almost, I'm making a lot of assumptions here because I don't know the industry very well, but there are a couple big players, and everybody eventually gets swallowed up by these giant players, right? But there's magnificent returns if you do eventually get swallowed up, right? So is that your guys' end goal is, get big enough where a Coca-Cola says, you know what, we need a natural juice brand and it's going to be Soul Tea. Is that your end goal?
Well, it was an idea that we wanted to do in 2014, and now 2015, 16, 17. But I ended up selling the company in 2017 to my minority shareholders that 2 of them had a cumulative net worth of like $700 million. And that went not that great. And I ended up buying the company back from them in 2018. By the way, I didn't sell it for a lot of money. I sold it for some money. Right. But it was more kind of like I was in between a rock and a hard place from the company's cash position. And so the company needed a cash infusion. And so
were you going to be at that time, were you going to be like, still have part of the company, or you were out? How was that?
yeah, I retained 20% of the company,
Right.
but I was silent and I was fired as CEO, and they brought in management.
Right.
And management didn't do so well, and I bought it back. Some minority shareholders kind of made some noise, and I bought it back in 2018.
Wow.
And when I bought it back in 2018, I called my previous management team. I had built a pretty good, like, mid-skill level management team. And I said, hey, if I buy this thing back, will you guys come back to the company? And they all said yes. And at that point, I turned it into employee-owned company.
Oh, you did?
I did. And so not fully, but I sliced off an employee equity pool.
Right.
I gave them equity that vested over a 4-year period. And then now, as we grow today, we have an employee equity pool, and we give every single full-time employee equity in the company. The equity today is worth about 20 grand for the lowest entry-level hourly employee, that literally like the janitor or
Sure.
line worker number one.
Yep.
Perhaps that's worth a couple $100,000 one day. And then, of course, my management team has much more equity. I mean, these guys should legitimately all be millionaires at some point. And then mid-management has well into the 6 figures. And so with that, I changed my outlook to be like really long-term. Like, instead of being 5-year, 7-year, or 3-year to 7-year, I was like, what if it's 20 years? What do the companies do that have longevity? And so that was one strategy. And then the other thing is we started positioning it to cash flow, to be EBITDA positive, to have really good intellectual property, like our patent pending on UV, our trademarks on Solti, Super 8, Super Shot, Hemp Plus. All those are registered trademarks that we own. We have about 10. And then build a company that has evangelical customers that, like, I mean, Adam, it's crazy. I go on Instagram and I look at some of our stories that we repost. These customers just love the product, like the quality. So they're evangelical. So the idea was, okay, if we do this and we are getting audited financials and we're growing 100 to 200% year over year, when we get to 40, 50 million in revenue, it's a pretty good story to IPO.
Sure.
And so right now our roadmap is to IPO and to retain control post IPO. And that will give investors the opportunity to liquidate and have a liquidity event if they like. Yep. Or some investors might want to double down, or some investors might want to stay in. I do know that I have a couple friends that have sold some pretty big companies, like over 200 million to up to $1 billion. And I know that when you file to IPO, when you file the S1 with the NASDAQ, or probably over NASDAQ, you get a lot of offers because it legitimizes your company. They know your financials, they know your marketing plan, they know your position, they know your strengths. And so most of the time, cash offers come at that point, big ones. And in an ideal scenario, you get 2 big ones to bid against each other, with you having the IPO independent route already mapped. And I think that formula breeds the highest valuation for a company.
Wow, that's super interesting, man. I'm learning a lot today. What made you want to get back in it, right? I'm sure, like, I can imagine what went on when you got kind of bought out / kicked out, right?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of good vibes, I'm quite sure. What would make you want to be back in? Was it was it to drive just like, I want to show these guys that they fucked up, they couldn't get it done, and I'm going to fucking get this shit done? Was it a little bit of that, or what was the driving force to actually get back in?
I mean, for sure, right? I mean, I felt like the company didn't get a fair shake. Like, the company was on a trajectory and could have been where we are today earlier. like where we are today is insane. I mean, dude, we're doing almost $1 million a month. We're growing like a weed. We have crazy barriers to entry. No one can use UV. We're the only one in glass. We're dominating off the shelf. The velocity coming off the shelf versus other products, we're crushing. So when I wanted to get back in, I just felt the company didn't get a fair shake, and it was like a waste of human endeavor to just like let it fold up. That's kind of what I felt like.
Yep. It's interesting when we've had businesses and run businesses for, you know, like Raw Botanicals, just to say, like we ran that thing for a decade and made no money, right? I mean, it's almost just like the stubbornness is almost more important than anything else. Like to be able to push through is so critical. I don't know, for us and for a whole bunch of people I know who have run successful businesses, there are often years of, you know, just not working, and just keep trying and keep doing and keep going is critical.
For sure. The stick-to-itness and you have to have that or it won't work.
So how you gonna instill that in your kids?
I don't think you can, man. I think they're their own beings.
They're just man. If I rode BMX back when BMX was definitely not cool, dude. If I had a BMX course in my house,
you know, freaking
can't even imagine, dude.
Right. So like when I was growing up, all I wanted was a mini motorcycle. Did you know any kids that had a mini motorcycle?
No, dude. I saw one and was like, oh my God. Like you'd go on vacation or something and one kid like would have one and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I never got one. I got a moped that I had to buy when I was like 13 after doing some lawn mowing or something, right?
Yeah.
But these kids, they I have to say, they worked for like a month and they got an electric motorcycle, a miniature one.
Oh man.
And the deal was that they had to work an hour and a half a day to get to charge it. Okay,
yeah.
They did that for like the first like 3 weeks. Literally, they haven't ridden the motorcycles in like 2 months.
They're like, it's not worth it.
I would have like given my left arm to have a motorcycle like that growing up. So that's what I think. I'm just like, they can do whatever.
And
they
you
want.
try to explain it to them, right? Like we have a trampoline. We've had like multiple trampolines because like the wind caught it once and it flew out of the yard and broke. We've had 2 trampolines, right? I try to tell him, my kid, I'm like, realize this, man. When I was growing up, I knew one person in my entire town, 25,000 people. One person, family was rich enough. His dad was like a VP of whatever at IBM. They had a trampoline.
Right.
Nobody else had a trampoline. You know, and every kid I know has a trampoline. You know, it's like,
I know.
We've created a magical world, man. A magical world. And Salty is part of that, man. Congratulations, dude. Really, congratulations. It sounds like an amazing, ridiculously difficult adventure. But it sounds like you're actually reaping a little bit of the rewards now. You got Costa Rica. How often are you in Costa Rica? How much time can you spend down here?
Well, now indefinitely.
Oh, man. That's awesome. So you just go back up and do sales and promotion and stuff then?
No, I'm talking about because of the travel situation.
Oh, right now, yeah, forever. Well, did you hear, dude? You can't I don't know if you have residency or anything. They've put in you can't leave. If you leave, you lose your residency. I'm like, I mean, my lawyer's like, it's illegal. It's not going to pass muster when it gets to the Supreme Court or whatever. But crazy, right?
Right. I mean, last year I was leaving every 3 months. I went to the States for like a month every 3 months. So I spent 4 months there, 9 months here, more or less. And then this year I'll probably spend like 2 months there, 10 months here.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Dude. Perfect.
Yeah.
Living the dream, man.
Yeah. And the company, I mean, I think really the employee ownership was the changing point. Because now it's like everyone on the management team has serious skin in the game.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I still talk to them every day. We have a president also. I had this friend who was a mentor, and his name's Rob Palladino. And he had a ton of experience growing CPG companies. And he even did an IPO. And he had a break in his career. He was actually about to retire. And I was like, man, this is the only opportunity we're going to get to work together. Why don't you come over? Let's figure out how we can make this thing huge. Mm-hmm. And so he's president, and he runs day-to-day operations while I run marketing, product innovation, R&D. So that has been like super huge, awesome, huge. Man.
Yeah.
He's strong at that. I'm strong at that. He's much stronger than that. Yeah. He's much stronger than me at that. And then I can now like sit back and be like, okay, mushrooms are going off right now in CPG. We got to come out with this mushroom shot.
Yeah.
And then like formulate it, get the label, get the artwork, taste test it, sample, and then come out with it. And then now he's got a pipeline of product that his sales team can go distribute.
Oh, it's so huge when a company, you get to enough scale or enough size where you can afford or to bring in somebody who's awesome. When you're when you're starting the company, you're doing everything, right? But to be able to bring in somebody and take that part that frees you to your specific skill set, and then you can actually work harder on that particular thing is amazing. That's when the companies can really explode, right? That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, dude, we've hit the hour, man. Dude, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. What an awesome story, man. I'm really excited.
Dude, that flew by, Adam. I can't believe how fast that was. So what are you doing? You're staying in the Escazú?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I could do the home quarantine. I figure I could do it for 6 to 8 months. Easy, dude. Easy.
Right.
I'm using it. I'm like, because I just doing the work, and I'm using it, marketing and podcasting. I did a podcast yesterday. I'm doing one today. I got another one, a big one scheduled on Friday. I'm psyched, dude. It's
awesome.
Like, this is like heaven, man.
What's the viewership these days on the podcast?
Well, I do it through, I tell everybody, I think podcasts are a fantastic way to just meet and meet people, like meeting you. Without the podcast, it would have been very difficult for me to spend an hour talking to you. Right. But these sort of things for me, that's the best thing. And it took me almost a year to learn that. Like when I started the podcast, I was doing it I just wanted to learn how to do podcasts.
Yeah.
And I was helping my brother with he has a finance company called Market Chameleon, which is like online research tools for options trading. And so like a year and a half a little over a year and a half ago, I started with him doing like a daily market show. And so we were just pumping out the content for him, and I was just learning how to do it. And I started the podcast at the same time. And so I just wanted to learn, I'm not a great marketer. I just wanted to learn how to market it. I wanted to learn the whole process of building it all. And so for me, it was more like just learn how to do something. Right. And now I love doing this. Like this is the best part of my day, just talking and hearing people's stories. It's fantastic for me.
Yeah. I mean, when you focus on just the content and you're not so worried about the numbers, you also like probably have much better content because you're not so focused on the outcome,
Well, it's true. I mean, I don't know. You know what my problem is that when the podcast, like last January, it actually started to pop up on like iTunes chart in Costa Rica. And that is actually a bad thing for me, because what happens with me is once I get that, it's like, ooh, I'm like, literally I would be refreshing. Like, oh my God, what's happened with this one? What's happened with this one? What's happened?
Right.
And then when I hit like #1 in Costa Rica, I was like, that feed, that ego part of me, man, just, it was lovely.
Right.
So so I try not to, the only time I really pay attention to it now is when I try to get somebody on the show who is like whatever. I don't know if you know Noah Kagan. He's coming on the show on Friday, right? So he's kind of like an internet guy. He's in, you know, and so like to get people like that on, that's kind of the only time I look at it now, because I'll look at it and say, oh, like I looked at it when I was trying to negotiate with him. I looked at it and I was number 6 in Costa Rica, right?
Right.
To compel them. They don't want to go on a show that nobody's going to hear, right?
Right.
So for me, I use that now. It's just I try not to even look at it because I know my ego will just be like, more food.
Right.
More food.
Right. For sure.
You know how that works? I mean, it's just the way for me, that's the way it is. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is the way.
Same with us in social media, man. We spent so many years with social media, like trying to build it for number of likes and views and followers. And now, like the last 2 years, I said, Lindsay and the team, I said, who gives a crap how many followers we have and how many likes we have? And just keep putting out the content, do it from the heart, and whatever happens, happens. And now it's better than ever because we're not like focused on it every day, every 100%. Hour.
It's more about connecting. I mean, that's the amazing thing. When you actually connect with somebody, a fan or whatever you want to call it, and then they consume all your stuff all the time, right? And that's where it's like, and those people, nurturing them, talking to them, that for me is something I've learned, right? Learned by doing that show with my brother. It was like, because we'd get the same, 20, 30, 50 people watch the show kind of every day. And in the chat, I'd be chatting with them and we'd mention them and stuff like that. And that got them more engaged, right?
For sure.
So, that's kind of what I've learned over all these, the now 2 years I've been kind of doing this stuff is
sweet.
That it's a million times more important than just getting 1,000 people who watch your stuff, or whatever,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. We'll keep it up.
Appreciate it.
If you're ever in Perez de Ladon, hit me up to come on over.
It's funny. We've never been down that way. Like I've been everywhere else in the country, but that is just not like going down that road. Like, it's just not, it's usually not on the trail,
Right.
Have you hiked Chirapoo yet?
I hiked it. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a good hike.
Did you stay up at the lodge or whatever you did?
I did. And then I did summit the next morning at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
It was cold, Adam. Way colder than I thought. Way colder. Because you're down here in shorts with no shirt. And so I kind of like thought, okay, at 5 a.m. the next morning, I can wear shorts and a shirt. No, it's cold. It's like
funny
25 degrees.
When, really that cold? Oh my God.
I mean, I don't know what time of the year I went because it was in 2014, but it was cold.
Yeah. It's funny. I just went, we took 6 months to travel over Christmas and stuff and took my mom to the Grand Canyon. And it was one of those things, Grand Canyon, Arizona. I'm like, oh, it's Grand Canyon. I mean, it's the Grand Canyon. Dude, it was like 8 degrees.
Wow.
Snowing and freezing. And I'm like, what is this? We're in Arizona. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You make assumptions and assumptions are wrong, man. They're wrong.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Bring long sleeves if you go.
Dude, I might have to come down there and attack that BMX course, man. Break out the old skills, man.
Yeah. All right, Adam. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate the time. It's fun talking to you, brother.
You too. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Right. Take care. Bye.